Now, item C, don't go too far away, Chief. We're going to receive a presentation from Police Chief Barberini on fraud awareness and prevention.
Good evening again, and thank you for having me. Over the course of the last few years, the City of San Bruno, along with communities throughout the state and the country, have experienced a dramatic increase in attempts at fraud. These types of fraud have come in many forms, including via telephone and via email. These types of crimes sometimes look to prey on specific groups, but are often do not discriminate and are random. Many of us have experienced these types of calls or emails, and our goal from a law enforcement perspective is to prevent victimization, because it's very hard to address on the back end. Examples of these types of scams that we like to refer to them as include the PG&E scam, which is primarily aimed at small businesses, or often aimed at small businesses. And the target, or the individual targets a small business and represents themselves as an agent or representative from PG&E, and advises that the business is late on their electric or gas bill. It also advises that their power will be shut off that same day if they do not somehow pay the balance of their account. The victim is then instructed to purchase a money transfer card that would cover the cost of the bill, and sometimes asked to meet an individual or to contact an unknown individual via telephone or wiring money via the phone card. The IRS scam is very similar to the PG&E scam, but primarily aimed at individuals. The suspect in this case identifies himself as some type of agent for the IRS and advises the victim that they're delinquent in their taxes, and the suspect often threatens arrest or additional fines if this outstanding tax balance isn't paid. There are also some rather intrusive questions asked with this type of call, including one's social security number or other personal information. The victim again is then instructed to purchase a money transfer card that would cover the cost of the tax bill, and asked to somehow forward or wire that money to pay off the account. Another scam is we commonly refer to as the grandchild scam. This is a crime that's sometimes aimed at seniors. The suspect will pose as a grandchild or distant relative and claim to have been arrested in a foreign country and request money for bail. This one is very common via email. The suspect asks the grandparent or relative not to contact the individual's parents for fear of causing family trouble or getting into more trouble, and then once again request that the victim in this case purchase some type of money card in order to wire or transfer funds in order to pay the bail. An additional scam is the prize distribution scam. A suspect calls to advise a victim that they are entitled to a large cash prize or other item as a result of some type of drawing, lottery, or inheritance. Again, this is commonly seen via email. The victim is then instructed to purchase a money card, as mentioned before, to facilitate the transfer of funds from an overseas account. The fake bank alert message is a fraudulent message, often via telephone, from an individual's bank that states that a debit or credit card is being suspended. It instructs the victim to call a toll-free number that is not affiliated with the bank. The victim is then asked to verify account information, including name, date of birth, social security number, address, credit card number, etc. Once this information is obtained, it can be used to commit a variety of crimes, including identity theft, charging existing purchases to an open account of the victim, or creating new accounts, including credit card, checking, savings accounts, fraudulent checks, or even obtaining a fraudulent loan. And finally, the get-rich-quick scam would lure would-be entrepreneurs or people looking to engage in home-based employment under the pretense of a false promise by promising large earnings with very little effort. The schemes often require an initial investment that involves selling items on eBay or making sales calls. However, once the payment is sent to the companies as part of your initial investment, these companies often disappear. Most of these scams use a relatively new form of wiring money from victims to suspects. And this makes it almost impossible to track, which is a challenge for us. The money wiring services uses money cards. Some of the brand names of these are Green Dot or Money Pack. They can be purchased at your local convenience store and are used to send money either electronically or via telephone. Once the cards are loaded at the register of a store with a particular amount of cash, the victim can then provide an account number and a password number to anyone, and money can be withdrawn from this card almost anonymously. In addition to that challenge, apps now can be purchased via the cell phone to disguise a telephone number and often display some innocent third party's telephone number as the number that you're receiving the call from, which allows those involved in this type of criminal activity to avoid detection. Some examples of language you'll see in some of these scams is, as mentioned earlier, the IRS or somebody from the Treasury Department who mentions arrest or threatens arrest is without fail a scam. A relatively new one is a call from the county saying that you failed to report to jury duty and you'll be arrested unless you pay a fine. Those calls just don't come from the county. And then, as mentioned before, this is your grandson. I'm on vacation in a foreign country and I've been arrested. And then finally, the common denominator, purchase a green dot card or money pack card or other type of money card, are all red flags that folks should look out for when receiving these types of calls. So, what can folks do to protect themselves from these types of crimes? Here's our little bit of advice, and me on my soapbox here to try to prevent folks from finding themselves in these difficult situations. Always be suspicious, especially when somebody's asking you to wire or send money via telephone. If it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And remember that no legitimate business or government agency will ever ask you to pay a fine or a fee using a prepaid card purchased at a convenience store. Always ask for a callback number or seek a callback number on your own, especially if you're getting calls from a business such as PG&E or someone representing themselves from a business. There's a phone number on your PG&E bill. There's a phone number on the website. It's very easy to verify whether or not this is a legitimate caller. So don't be afraid to ask for a callback number, ask who you're speaking with, and see if you can verify their information before providing any personal information, especially via telephone. And finally, when in doubt, call the police department. I'll talk a little bit about enforcement in a second, but if the hair stands up on the back of your neck or something just doesn't seem right, don't hesitate to call the police department. We can give you advice over the phone, or we can come out and talk to you about the call that you received. The reporting of fraud is a difficult and challenging one for law enforcement. There are two websites, actually three websites up on the screen there that we use to report fraud, and individuals can report fraud as well. These types of crimes that I've discussed throughout this and many more attempts at fraud are usually or primarily investigated at the federal level. These calls are often made from out of state or overseas. It's not feasible for local agencies to investigate these calls on an individual basis. In fact, it's impossible. Federal agencies establish patterns and conduct investigations based on the types of calls reported. So even if you get a call and you don't fall for the scam and you're not a victim, the fact that you have a phone number, you have the type of scam that is involved, if you can report that either via the website or by calling the police department so we can pass this information along to federal agencies, they can enter that into a database. This is important because even at the federal level, these crimes are not investigated on an individual basis. The sheer volume of these types of calls makes it impossible to do so, combined with the fact that most of these calls are made across state lines, and in many cases, especially involving email, from overseas. So the strategy that's been adopted is at the larger level to track patterns and see if we can solve these crimes on a larger level rather than on an individual basis. We rely heavily on our federal partners and our local federal task force to help us with that. The police department strives to make residents and business owners aware of these types of crimes in order to prevent additional victims. Some of the efforts that we're working on include coordinating with San Bruno Cable to produce programming aimed at educating the public, and this is in progress, and we anticipate this programming to be out soon. Developing informational flyers to be posted and available at sites within the city as well as on the city and department webpage. And we are coordinating with the Community Services Department to provide presentations here at the Senior Center, not only to seniors, but to anybody who's interested in protecting themselves regarding what to look for and how to be aware of these scams and not become a victim. That concludes my brief presentation regarding a subject that we could talk about for a long time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Good. Any questions at this time for the chief? I know in the last number of years with the rise of the internet and all of that stuff that goes along with this, a big proliferation of all of this happening. So it's important that people become aware, especially seniors, because they're targeted. So we really appreciate the report, Chief, and keep us posted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.